Okay, welcome back. I actually may not even bother splicing it in, I'll just have part 1 and part 2. We are back. Remarkably not dead. And we are going to go over the last couple things I had planned. So, I'm going to do that maneuver one more time, and I'm just going to show some hard, aggressive turns. Basically, it's really very similar to a plane. You bank, you use the rudder, the pedals, and you pull back on the stick, and you're going to turn. You want to be careful. If you start pulling too much G's on a turn, you're going to have a rotor cone collision. The two cones of your two blades will hit each other, kind of like in a boom strike in a conventional helicopter. Not good. You'll crash. Find the limits and know where they are. And let's go. Airborne. Gear up. Trim. Putting a little forward flight and get out towards the taxiway. That's enough climbing. Turn down the taxiway. A lot of opposite rudder to cancel that because I had a lot of rudder in there. Bouncy. And let's get some forward flight going. Get my pitch and everything set, and then I'll trim it in. Cancel out this. Right, I'm trimmed into some heading. Trim new heading. Trimmer takes a while to get used to, I'm telling you. Okay. Trim. Okay. And let's do it again. Trim in. That was a pretty ugly one. I'm being conservative because I just crashed. But you get the idea. Turn around fast. Now, just hard turns. Hard turns, as I said, it's just like you're turning a plane quite aggressively. You roll and you pull into the, you pull your nose around, put the rudder in, and use the pedals. So to make a hard turn towards that city, I'll wait a little bit because it's not sharp enough yet. There's some cranes over there. Maybe I'll go post the cranes if I can remember where they are. Apparently I don't. Whatever. I'll post the buildings. Okay. Hard turn. Pull the nose around. Roll out. That's a hard turn. That's all there is to it. Release the trimmer when you're back on heading. It's really not that hard. Release the trimmer and it becomes really hard. And there are the cranes. And it takes practice. The trimmer is really, honestly, the hardest thing. So yeah, basic flight. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna demonstrate the rudder at high speed. This is actually a little high, not the rudder, the anti-torque pedals. It's a little high for the pedal. I'm gonna put hard pedal in and see what happens. Even at that speed, I can turn the helicopter pretty much sideways. So, there's your pedals. They're effective at a much higher speed in this kind of helicopter than they would be in a tail boom design. It's probably not recommended to do pedals at that, to do something like that at that high of a speed, but as I just demonstrated, it works. That's what matters. If you have use for it, use it. The manual, they talk about doing some kind of like cone where you're keeping your nose on a target, or you're transcribing a cone through the air with the target down there. I can't see actually doing that. I mean, I just don't see how you're going to be able to manage to actually use your weapons on the target when you're doing that. I don't know. In any case, play around with it. Just screw around with the controls. Push the envelope, see how the aircraft reacts. If you die, reset. And I'm in a really weird trim state. I'm going to reset the trimmer, which is, you'll notice the bucking in the helicopter when I do it. So here we go. Reset. Get the craft back under control. And as you just see, I thought I had trimmed, so I let go of the control. I forgot to toggle out of my second layer of my functions, my stick. And we're dangerously close to a Vortex Ring State. If not in a Vortex Ring State.
Lower gear.
Come on, come out of it. Come out of it.
Lower gear.
Whew. The low altitude recovery. Okay. As you saw, I was basically getting no lift. I was coming straight down, and I had to nose forward to start grabbing the air again with my blades. I'm actually a little surprised I didn't hit the ground there, but that's what happens when you get behind the helicopter and the black shark. Bad things start to happen, and when I was screwing with my trimmer, bad things started to happen. Let's get my trimmer reset again. And again, I didn't toggle out of the function. Okay. So now we're back under control. So that little bit of excitement. So as you can see, it is quite easy to screw up in the black shark. I'm going to turn off heading hold for a bit. Okay, now I don't have to fight the autopilot when I want to change heading. And we're going to do a, with heading hold, you're going to have to use more rudder to keep your path straight without it on. You're going to have to use more pedal to keep a constant heading, especially when you're near a hover, but even when you're at speed to a degree. But you don't have to keep trimming in the new heading for the autopilot, which in something like this where I'm going to come in and show you a landing. We're going to land the same place. You could come in and land on the runway straight in, like you would land a plane basically, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a hover landing where we took off from. I don't like to be fighting the heading hold when I'm doing that. That's why I took it off. And you could also see the bad reaction when I got into that Vortex Ring State. Before I realized exactly what was happening, my reaction was just to peg the collective all the way up, which does not work. You need to pitch the nose down and get some forward flight to get the blades biting again. Okay, I think that's where we took off from over there. If not, that's where we're going to land, regardless. So, gonna hover into it at a close to a hover. Just gonna spot my landing. And I'm just gonna basically watch my rate of descent, watch my forward speed, and fly to the spot and put her down. You could open your door if you want. Some people think it helps. It doesn't help me that much. Some people think it gives them a better view and makes it easier.
Lower
Makes it easier
gear.
for you, that's what matters. Thank you, Betsy.
Lower gear.
Getting our gear down so we don't land on the belly. No need to be doing that. Yep, pretty small rate of descent as we come in. Start bleeding off a little more speed. Pulling back a little bit of collective as we do that so we don't balloon. And a little more. Eesh, that was hard. That was actually quite hard. I usually put it down much gentler than that. But that's what happens when you start recording. That's like I did a practice flight before this, and all my maneuvers were a lot cleaner, and I didn't crash. And I didn't get into Vortex Ring States, but that's what happens when you start recording. That is basic flight in the Black Shark. I'm going to actually turn around and do navigation. We're going to go to this waypoint over here because the next video is going to be weapons employment, basic weapons employment. We're going to go over the missiles, the rockets, maybe the rockets. I'm really bad with the rockets, we'll see, and the cannon. And this is the shooting range. So we're going to head to the waypoint up here before ending the video to go over the navigation. Basically just point at it and fly. It's quite simple. Let me reset the trimmer while I'm on the ground. It's quite simple. And going to do it before closing off this video, and then the next video I'll start at that point. I could have actually saved going into an auto hover for there, but I didn't. So the next video I'll actually start in a auto hover, or maybe I'll start right before I arrive at the point, and then show coming into an auto hover, or coming into a hover and then setting the auto. But in any case, we're heading towards it. I'll release the trimmer at this point. Yeah, we're heading towards it. I could go over some like the route autopilot modes, but I'm not going to. You can have the autopilot fly you to that point. It will actually follow a route. It's pretty lazy about how it does it. I've actually never really used it. I just fly there myself. But the autopilot system, I'm going to trim it a little more down, a little more pitch down, so I can go hands off to use the mouse. Okay, this autopilot system is tied into the controls, the autopilot controls. So if you set waypoint 1, you can then use different things like the route mode to get you to waypoint 1. I believe. It's been a while since I played with it. So I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. So, the waypoint, if we're actually in a combat situation, you'll obviously be paying a lot more attention to your surroundings and your altitude and all that. We're not, so it's no worries. the autopilot's on, a trimmer can be a pain. But just straight flight like this is, and just basic maneuver, basic turning, where you're not trying to be aggressive with the helicopter is incredibly simple. Flies itself basically. You just almost program in what you want to do with the trimmer. Okay, we're coming up to our waypoint. We're going to start slowing down, so I don't have to do a real hard braking slowdown where I risk getting into all kinds of bad things like Vortex Ring States. Watching my collective as I start the balloon from the pitch change. At this point I haven't even bothered with the trimmer, I'm just fighting the autopilot. Once we get closer to the point where I'm going to be coming into a hover, I will I'll push in the trimmer button and finalize into a hover position and start to trim it in. I'll usually get a rough trim, and then I'll get a better trim as I'm closer to where I want to be. Going to be losing effective lift, so I got to watch my collective. It's starting to sink a little bit. Up collective. Okay. Now. Okay, I just pushed the trimmer button in, and I got a weird response. I hate the trimmer. Okay. Trim that in there, and then we'll fix it. Got a little bit of right bank, fix it. A little bit of left bank, fix that. Okay, I'm going to call that close enough, so I'm going to turn on auto hover at this point and end the video. The next video, I'll actually start in an auto hover position, and we will go over weapons employment. Gonna blow shit up. So until next time, keep the rubber side down. Bye everyone.